Hello, friends. It's Monica, also known as Sleep After 60, and it's April 18th, 2017, and I'm coming to you for my week 5 update. I had a VSG at University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, Fairview Hospital with Daniel Leslie on March 13th, 2017, and today I come to you at 181.2 pounds with a loss of 2.2 pounds this week. My total weight loss since weight loss surgery is 16.8 pounds, and my total weight loss since I started with university bariatric clinic is 42.8 pounds, and that was in November of 2016. So how am I doing? I'm doing fine. Everything is okay. So far, so good. I am eating, solids. I'm not that interested in food, so I'm doing a lot of the protein puddings. I've done. Oh, I'm also doing some soups, some cream soups, and that just addition, not for protein, but just for something warm sometimes. And also to sort of figure out how slowly I need to eat, because one of the things that I've noticed is that at times it doesn't take much for me to feel like I just ate a brick. So that's where I am. I see the doctor, the surgeon, and the nutritionist on Thursday, so it probably will be okay to be exercising. I can't even think of the word exercising. Yes. And I'm thinking I'll probably just, get a personal trainer a couple of times a week and see how that works just to get started. Because once I get started, it's different. And for me, it's about relationships. So once I go to a class or something and I find friends, then it's fine. I'll go. I mean, I've done triathlons. I've ran half marathons. But I need to kind of have a group. I'm not one of those, loners sort of people. So anyway, so that's coming up, and that's going to be great. I'm still afraid about, is this really going to last, especially since I'm at 181, which once I get into the 70s, that's scary territory. And not that I haven't been there before, but it's scary. It's scary territory because I have been there before, so we'll see. I'm trying to just not put a lot of emphasis on the scale and just weigh in on Tuesdays, which is my anniversary of my surgery. So aside from that, what else? I am noticing a big change in my body as far as clothing and all that. So sort of, I'm in like in a size 10, not in a I had to wear, I mean, it sound like, oh my God, you have to wear, I had to wear a size 10. And because of, we're getting into spring, so I'm going to have to do some major purging in my closet and sort of shop in my closet and do a lot of we're having house guests this week, Thursday through Monday, and then I think at the end of the next week also, so I can't really kind of break things down and go through, my winter closet and my summer closet. So anyhow, and when you live in the Midwest, you have to have 2 closets because you have all those coats and all that stuff. So anyhow, don't be impressed by that. So that's kind of what goes on, what's going on. Other parts of my life, there's stress and there's anxiety for aging is aging. And that's one of the things that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. That's life. So that's just this. I'm not interested in food at all, and I've talked to my therapist about that, and it's just one of those things that I had something here. One of those things that just is what it is, and I'm trying not to be fearful of it, and just it's interesting because I'll watch some of you, and in Instagram or even in YouTube, and you're all cooking away, and I'm like, send some over because I had no interest in cooking. And fortunate for me, I live in a pretty metropolitan area that you can get anything pre-made, but I'm just not interested. So I'm just going to go with that and just see what happens. It's just that my fear is that it'll come back with a vengeance, and and I'll eat everything. The other interesting thing is that I follow some new I have some new people that I'm following who I just discovered. And Erica, if you're watching, and Jan from UK, and we're just days away, and I'm just amazed at sort of what they're eating, because I'm going, no, like, oh, just the thought like makes me hurt. And please, not a judgment, just an observation. And I just go, oh, like, it just makes me hurt to just think about it. So it's kind of fascinating, and I'm kind of looking forward to see where they are, and of course my surgery sister Brianna and Andy. I hope everything's going well for you, Andy. I haven't heard from you, and I know that you're having all kinds of family struggles. So I think about you every day, every morning. I think about you. And they're sort of eating along, and I'm trying not to compare myself because it doesn't work that way. But it's interesting because I don't know where this is gonna lead, and I'll talk to the surgeon about it because I have no interest. And Easter, the thought of lamb, lamb, and turkey too, makes me think that's dry and it's gonna hurt. So there I am. But now talk about a fried egg, and that makes me happy. So that's kind of where I am. I had a couple of people have reached out to me about, and I've also read comments and listened to some of you about going to therapy. And so here's what I always say about therapy. This is just my personal beliefs, so I'm going to say that up front. I really think that when people are looking for a therapist, that they need to go and interview the way that you would anything else, because you're going to have a pretty hopefully a relationship with someone that you can trust. So I think that interviewing is fine, and it should be. I also, in my experience as a professional referring people and as a private citizen, I think that it's really important for women to see women in therapy. And there's a lot of research about that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think that it's really important. The other thing is that I was trying to make the point last week when I got cut off, is that I think that it's really, really important, if you can, to look in your community at people who specialize in eating disorders, because it's like it's like going to see a neurologist when you need a podiatrist. I really believe, and they may know a lot, or an internist may know a lot about a lot of things, but I think that eating disorders is a specialty in itself, and it can be very helpful to go to someone who has, and not who just says, oh yeah, I know about it, or I've had problems with my weight, but somebody who really has training in eating disorders. And specifically to ask what kind of, because if someone, a lot of times what they're talking about might be anorexia, and it's not the same thing. It's not the same issues. And I think that to have some good training, and to ask, what kind of training have you had? Do you keep up? Do you keep up with training? Because I think that it's a specialty, and it can be very helpful. So that, here's a perfect example of why. what I say. Many, many years ago, and I'm watching the time, many years ago in the 80s, we went back to Hawaii, my ex-husband and I and our son. We lived in Hawaii in 2 different decades, in the 70s, and I went to school there, and then we went back in the 80s, and I had finished, graduate school, and my first clinical job was in Hawaii. Anyway, so I've always struggled, and I knew that there was an eating disorder. I knew that there was my relationship with food, and some of you who have followed me know when I talk about it that, I went to therapy for many, many years, and I've said I have an issue with food. I will, eat until I can't eat anymore, or I will cry and say tomorrow, I'm starting tomorrow, and I eat everything in the house for, so I can start on a Monday. Especially if it was a new month or oh my God, if it was a new year, if January 1st fell on a Monday, my God, that's the holy grail of dieters. But anyhow, and, we would be talking about my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my father, my relationship with my marriage. Not to say that's not good therapy, because that has been, has changed my life. But people didn't know what we know now. There was no word for eating disorder. I mean, people were anorexic, but that's pretty much it. So anyhow, somebody said to me in my work, in my clinical work, somehow I knew of this person, I think it was a psychiatrist actually, who, was an eating disorder, who knew about teenagers and eating disorders, which, teenagers and 30-year-olds, very different. I went to see him. And my first visit, he asked me, well, when was the last time that I don't even know if we used the word binging right then, but that you overate. And I said, well, today. And so he said, well, what was the last time you ate? And I said, I think it was like 3/4 of a pound of M&M's peanuts. I had that day in the car. He goes, you ate the whole thing? And I thought, this guy knows nothing about binge eating. Because listen, honey, this was this morning, me being stressed out and, of coming to see you. Anybody who says that, I mean, you don't know from binging. And, I didn't go back to him because it was, to me, first of all, the fact that he was shocked, that he showed his shock. I've interviewed people for a living, and sometimes when you say, well, how much do you drink in a day? And they tell you 24 beers inside, I would go, first of all, I'd drop dead. Second of all, when do they have time to drink when they're peeing all the time? 24 beers. But I would have never gone, what? A case? You drink a case every day? So my point of why you need to really know what are they doing, because the last thing you want is when you're talking to somebody about your fears and they go, oh, well, you don't, look at you, or look at me. I mean, people have said that to me in the past, depending on what I look like. Well, you don't look like you haven't eaten. I mean, look at you, So that's why it's such a good, important thing to be able to know that somebody is a specialist, because if they're not, go to somebody else. And I would say start out by calling, even if it's inpatient, calling a treatment facility, an eating disorder, and asking, is there somebody that you can refer? That's where I'm going to stop because I don't want to be cut off. See everybody else. See you all next week. Have a wonderful week. Besos to everybody. Mwah! Bye. Ciao.